While Harry Potter and his friends were busy dealing with the Gryffindors in the library, Patrick Harvey, Agnes Parker, Abigail Beaufort, Julian Olsen, and Harvey Pinkerton had decided to go to the third-floor corridor and investigate what was in the place and why no Hogwarts student was allowed to go there. The mystery had been bothering Patrick since the beginning of the school term. Now, his curiosity had finally got the best of him. As the 5 students crept along the dimly lit third-floor corridor, their shadows flickering against the stone walls, Agnes whispered, "Are you sure about this? The professors are clear about the dangers." Patrick said, "That's exactly why we need to find out for ourselves. Why would they say that the third-floor corridor is dangerous and not expect us to not want to find out?" "That doesn't make any sense," said Harvey. They reached the forbidden door, and Abigail carefully turned the handle, the door creaking open to reveal a room shrouded in mystery. Julian's voice trembled slightly. "Remember, we stick together, no matter what's in there." Harley nodded, adding, "Together, we have a chance to uncover Hogwarts secrets." With a collective breath, they approached the third-room corridor, ready to face whatever lay beyond. As the door creaked open, a chill swept through the third-room corridor. "Stay close," Patrick whispered, his voice barely audible over the sound of their synchronized heartbeats. Agnes nodded, gripping her brother's hand tighter. "Whatever happens, we face it together," she said, a determined glint in her eye. The 5 friends stepped into the unknown, their shadows merging with the darkness that awaited them. Patrick looked up and saw a huge 3-headed dog, its eyes glinting in the dim light. Frozen in shock, he managed to stutter out, "That's a Cerberus." Agnes whispered back, "It's guarding something." They all exchanged nervous glances, knowing that this was no ordinary school pet. Abigail, trying to keep her voice steady, said, "We need a plan. If the tales are true, music might soothe it." Julian, rummaging through his bag, pulled out a small flute. "Here goes nothing," he said, and began to play a soft melody. The beast's middle head cocked curiously, and slowly, each ferocious head lay down, lulled by the tune. Harley, with a mix of awe and fear, murmured, "Let's move, before it wakes up." They crept past a suit of armor, its rusted joints groaning like a banshee in a gale. Patrick froze, heart hammering against his ribs. Was it slumbering, or merely waiting to be disturbed? The silence stretched, broken only by the ragged gasps of their breaths. Uncertainty gnawed at him, but curiosity, fueled by a dash of recklessness, propelled him forward. He squeezed past the armor, the stale, metallic scent clinging to him, and rejoined the group, deeper into the forbidden corridor. For the next few hours, Patrick, Agnes, Abigail, Julian, and Harley embarked on a thrilling journey through a labyrinth filled with challenges that pushed them to their limits. Each twist and turn brought new obstacles that demanded not only their individual skills, but also their collective wit, courage, and even their friendship. Magical creatures, both wondrous and daunting, crossed their path. From mischievous sprites that attempted to lead them astray to a wise, ancient dragon who offered cryptic advice, these encounters tested their resolve. Through it all, their dialogue was rich with expressions of camaraderie and determination, highlighting the deepening bonds of trust and friendship that were forming. Patrick, usually the skeptic, found himself marveling at their progress. He never imagined that they would make it this far. "I can't believe we've made it this far. Hogwarts really is full of surprises." Agnes responded, "And to think, we've only scratched the surface of the story." Their journey through the third-floor corridor had led them deeper into the heart of the castle, where the secrets grew darker and the stakes were higher. Abigail frowned as she said, "We need to be careful. These challenges seem to be guarding something very important." Julian added, "Let's not forget why we're here. We're not just seeking adventure, we're here to learn something." Harley said, "Yes, and to protect each other, no matter what we face." As they stood before the final door, the air thick with anticipation, they knew that whatever lay beyond would change them forever. The large door swung open, and Patrick, Agnes, Abigail, Harvey, and Julian walked in, expecting to find treasures, or even a book detailing everything that had been going on since the beginning of Hogwarts. But they all let out a collective groan when the face of Professor Quirrell made itself known. "Ah, I see we have visitors," Quirrell said, his voice tinged with a mock surprise that didn't reach his eyes. "Looking for secrets, are we?" Patrick stepped forward, his gaze steady. "We were hoping to understand more about the school's history, not to be greeted by, well, you." Quirrell's smile faded slightly. "History is written by the victors, my young friends. And sometimes, it's hidden away for a reason." Agnes chimed in, "Then perhaps it's time for a new chapter, one where the truth isn't buried in the dark corners of Hogwarts." Quirrell's laughter filled the room, a cold and mirthless sound that seemed to seep into the very stones of Hogwarts. "You children truly believe you're ready for the truth," he taunted, his eyes alight with a strange fervor. Julian stepped forward, his voice unwavering. "We're not just children, Professor. We're students of Hogwarts, seekers of knowledge. Whatever truth you're hiding, we deserve to know it." The professor's smile faltered, and for a moment, a shadow of doubt crossed his face. "Be careful what you wish for," he warned. "Some truths are like Pandora's box, once opened, they can never be closed again." Agnes, with a fire in her eyes, met Quirrell's gaze. "We're not afraid of challenges or dangers. We've faced them before, and we'll face them again. Hogwarts has taught us that much." "I see," Quirrell said, his glare piercing through the dim light of the chamber as he observed the children. "You have spirit, but let's see if you can match it with skill." With a swift motion, he sent a series of spells towards them, each one more complex and dangerous than the last. The children scattered, wands drawn, as they deflected and dodged the magical assaults. The chamber echoed with the sounds of battle, spells clashing against stone walls. "All right, that's enough," Abigail shouted as she stepped forward. "We may be young, but we are not defenseless." With a determined flick of her wand, she conjured a shield that shimmered like a bubble, enveloping her friends. "Together, we are stronger," she declared. Quirrell's spells rebounded, one after another, as the children found their courage, their unity turning the tide of the confrontation. "Enough of this!" Patrick yelled, countering with a spell of his own, which struck the man down. "We're not here to play games with you, Quirrell. We want answers." "So, you want to possess the Sorcerer's Stone," Quirrell mused, his voice a mix of amusement and disdain. "Do you even understand its power?" Patrick, with a determined look, replied, "We understand more than you think. We're not here to use it for ourselves, but to protect it from the wrong hands." Quirrell's expression darkened. "Foolish children, the Sorcerer's Stone is not something to be trifled with. Its power is ancient and dangerous." Agnes stepped beside Patrick, her voice steady. "We know the risks. But we also know the importance of keeping such power safe and out of reach from those who would misuse it." The tension in the room grew as the Patrick, Agnes, Abigail, Harley, and Julian prepared for whatever came next, their unity and purpose clear in the face of danger. They were ready to stand together to safeguard the mysteries and the magic of their beloved Hogwarts. As the five friends stood shoulder to shoulder, the ancient walls of Hogwarts seemed to hum with energy. "Remember, no matter what happens, we protect each other," Patrick said, his voice steady. Agnes nodded, her eyes fierce, "And the secrets of this place, they are bigger than any one of us." A sudden noise echoed through the corridor, and they tightened their grip on their wands. "Together," whispered Abigail, "always." With a collective nod, they stepped forward, ready to face the unknown with bravery and unwavering loyalty. Quirrell laughed as he stared at Patrick and Agnes. "You two think you're heroes," he mocked, his eyes gleaming with malice. Agnes, with a fire in her eyes, stepped forward. "It's not about us being the heroes, Quirrell. It's about doing what's right, she retorted. Patrick nodded, adding, and we'll stop you, no matter what. Quirrell glared at them as he said, I know who you two are, Patrick Harvey and Agnes Parker. But those names are not your true names, are they? No, you two are much more than ordinary Hogwarts students, he continued, the corner of his mouth twitching into a sly grin. Patrick shifted uncomfortably, exchanging a worried glance with Agnes. What do you want from us, Quirrell? He asked, his voice steady despite the fear that was slowly starting to take hold. Agnes stepped forward, her resolve hardening. We may not be who we say we are, but that doesn't give you any power over us, she declared, her eyes locked onto Quirrell's. We've done nothing wrong. Quirrell laughed, a sound that echoed off the walls and sent shivers down their spines. Oh, but you have, my dear. You're here, aren't you, and in this world, that is the greatest mistake one can make. And why should we not be allowed to exist, said Agnes. Whatever did we do to offend you? Quirrell's eyes flashed dangerously in the dim light of the room. You two have a lot of nerve questioning me, he sneered, his gaze piercing through Patrick and Agnes. And by the way, your names are Juniper and Lucas Potter, he revealed with a twisted grin, enjoying the shock that flickered across their faces. Yes, you heard right. The legacy of the Potters rests on your shoulders now, he added, his voice a mix of mockery and solemnity as he turned away, leaving them to absorb the weight of their newfound identities. With their names now revealed as Juniper and Lucas Potter, Patrick and Agnes stood in stunned silence. This unexpected revelation hung heavy in the air, a tangible force that seemed to press down on them with the weight of a legacy they had never asked for. Is this true? Abigail said as she stared at Agnes. Are you really a Potter? Abigail whispered. Agnes, or Juniper, shook her head, the unfamiliar name echoing strangely. I don't know, she stammered. Everything Quirrell said feels false. Patrick finished, his jaw clenched. We need answers, not his games. The weight of the revelation settled on them. Curiosity flickered in Agnes' eyes. Who were Juniper and Lucas Potter? Why were they at Hogwarts? What did Quirrell want with them? We can't just sit here, she said with newfound determination. Patrick and Abigail exchanged a look. The unknown scared them, but staying in the dark was worse. We need to find out more, Patrick agreed. Such as, who are our parents and why are we really here at Hogwarts? I think I can help you with that, Harry said as he came into the room. Harley whirled around, his eyes wide with surprise. Harry Potter. You're here. How, what are you doing here? Hello everyone, Harry said, ignoring Harley's initial outburst. I recently saw a message that said that you needed help and came here as fast as I could. I will admit that it wasn't easy getting past all the obstacles that seemed to get in my way, but I'm here nonetheless. So, what's going on? Julian nudged Harley towards composure. Quirrell revealed something shocking to us, Julian explained. He claims that Agnes Parker and Patrick Harvey are really Juniper and Lucas Potter, which we're pretty sure is a lie. Harry's brow furrowed. Potter. Like the Potters. As in, my siblings. He looked around at everyone, then said, but I don't have any siblings, not that I can even remember. Exactly, Abigail confirmed. Quirrell claims that your parents had left you a legacy, and we also don't know what it is. Everything seemed to freeze. Every little feeling showed on their faces, like paint on a picture. It was like he could see all their complicated thoughts at once, even though they seemed calm on the outside. Did he give you any explanation as to why he would do that? Anything at all? Agnes shook her head. He just revealed our names and said it was some kind of legacy. It doesn't feel real, Harry. I will admit that it's a lot to take in, Harry admitted, stepping closer. But Quirrell wouldn't throw around names like Juniper and Lucas Potter lightly. There has to be a reason for him to do that. He noticed a flicker of recognition pass between Patrick and Agnes. What is it? There's something we haven't told you, Patrick confessed. A few weeks ago, Agnes found this old locket hidden amongst her things. It has the Potter family crest on it. Okay, said Harry, wondering what Patrick was talking about. Show me the locket. Agnes reached into her pocket and pulled out a silver locket, its surface engraved with a stag. Harry took it, his fingers tracing the intricate design that adorned its gleaming exterior. A gentle warmth began to emanate from the locket, sending a subtle, tingling sensation through his hand as he held it close. This? Harry breathed, a strange feeling churning in his gut as he continued to stare at the locket. This changes things. It does indeed, Quirrell said as he faced Harry. Now, what have we here? Harry Potter, the boy who lived. That was, until he turned his back on his destiny and joined Ravenclaw. Why would that be a bad thing? Said Agnes. What's wrong with Harry being in Ravenclaw? He was supposed to be in Gryffindor. Quirrell snapped in anger, his voice tinged with disappointment and frustration. Harry Potter was the chosen one. The prophecy foretold his destiny to defeat the Dark Lord and bring hope to the wizarding world. It was all supposed to go according to plan. But then he decided to turn his back on all of that and go into Ravenclaw. Because he made his choice, said Patrick. He's not going to be some Gryffindor who does idiotic things in the name of bravery. He's a Ravenclaw, the best house there is, and he's 100 times better than any Gryffindor will ever be. Harry placed a calming hand on Patrick's shoulder. Patrick, it's all right, he said, his voice steady despite the churning unease in his stomach. To Quirrell, he said in a firm tone, Quirrell, what's your game here? Why are you suddenly so keen on prying into my family affairs? What exactly are your intentions in delving into matters that do not concern you? I need some clarification on your sudden interest. Quirrell's smile widened, sending shivers down Harry's spine. Because, dear Potter, you seem to have forgotten something very important. There can only be one boy who lived. You're wrong, Quirrell, Harry snapped, his voice laced with a newfound anger. There's another boy who lived, one that has been ignored for far too long. Neville Longbottom. A look of surprise flickered across Quirrell's face, a momentary crack in his smug facade. Neville Longbottom, he scoffed, regaining his composure quickly, a hint of disbelief flickering in his eyes. A clumsy boy with a forgetful head. He's not worthy of being the chosen one, Harry Potter, he continued, his voice laced with disdain and a touch of superiority that seemed to solidify his stance on the matter. Don't underestimate him, Harry retorted, his grip tightening on the locket. He faced Lord Voldemort's Captain Bellatrix Lestrange that night when he attacked my family, Quirrell. He showed immense courage, even as a baby. Quirrell's eyes narrowed. A baby's magical tantrum is hardly a threat to someone of her caliber, Harry Potter. Besides, the prophecy spoke of a boy born at the end of July. Longbottom hardly fits the bill, does he? Maybe the prophecy isn't as clear-cut as you think, said Julian. Perhaps there's more to it than just birth dates and life circumstances. Perhaps, Quirrell conceded, a hint of unease creeping into his voice. He swept his gaze across the group, lingering on the locket in Harry's hand. But that locket, it signifies a true Potter. And with 3 Potters in our midst, the prophecy becomes even more intriguing. Intriguing or inconvenient? Agnes challenged, stepping forward with newfound defiance. Are you afraid, Quirrell? Afraid of what the prophecy truly means? Quirrell's smile returned, but it lacked its previous warmth. Fear? No, miss, what was your name again? Agnes, she said firmly, her chin held high. Agnes Parker, in case you suddenly forgot who I am. Yes, Agnes, or should I say Juniper? Quirrell drawled. Fear is not in my vocabulary. But curiosity, perhaps. This unexpected development certainly piques my interest. Tell me, Potters, he continued, his gaze flickering between Harry, Patrick, and Agnes, are you prepared to embrace your destiny? Will you become the heroes that you were born to be? Or will you crumble like Longbottom, content to remain forgotten? There's a third option, and that is for you to begone. Everyone gasped in shock, as Professor Severus Snape stormed into the room, followed by a wide-eyed Neville Longbottom. Quirrell stared at Snape with a mixture of surprise and something akin to fear, his smile evaporating completely. Snape, his black robes billowing dramatically, strode towards Quirrell, his voice dripping with disdain. I have heard everything that you told these children, he sneered, and I have my reasons to believe that Dumbledore had ordered you to keep quiet about the secrets you revealed to them. Quirrell's face contorted in a mixture of anger and confusion. Severus, what are you doing here? This doesn't concern you. Snape's dark eyes narrowed. On the contrary, Quirrell, he countered, his voice dangerously low. It concerns me a great deal. Especially if you're attempting to manipulate these 3 young students into your schemes. He glanced at Harry, giving a brief nod of acknowledgement, before shifting his attention to the bewildered faces of Patrick, Agnes, Abigail, Julian, and Harley. Dumbledore entrusted them to my care, and I won't stand idly by while you attempt to exploit them. Neville, emboldened by Snape's presence, stepped forward, his voice trembling slightly. Professor Snape's right, Quirrell. You can't just come in here and make assumptions about us, not when you don't know who we really are. Quirrell let out a dismissive scoff, his tone dripping with disdain. Assumptions, he snorted, momentarily amused. The Potters, the prophecy, these are not merely vague assumptions, Longbottom. They are indisputable and proven facts that cannot be overlooked or trivialized, especially by the likes of you. Snape whirled on Quirrell, his voice laced with fury. Facts that you should not be privy to, let alone discussing with students. He whipped his wand out of his robes with a flourish, the tip glowing a menacing red. Now, Snape continued, his voice low and dangerous. Tell me, Quirrell, who exactly are you working for? Professor Dumbledore, or should I be concerned with who you're truly working for? The room fell silent, the tension thick enough to cut with a knife. Harry stared at Snape, a flicker of hope sparking within him. Had Snape come to help? And if so, who was he truly loyal to? The questions echoed in Harry's mind, causing a whirlwind of doubts about Snape's loyalties and motives to swirl around him, clouding his thoughts in a storm of uncertainty. Why should I tell you anything, Severus? Quirrell snapped as he glared at Snape with a mixture of frustration and bitterness evident in his tone. You never cared about the girl, Lily Evans, the one who you once shared memories with and now behave as if they had never existed. And I also recall vividly the animosity you harbored towards James Potter and his band of friends, constantly entangled in troubles that only seemed to worsen with time, creating a rift that reinforced your disdain for them. Do not speak to me of James Potter, Quirinus. Snape napped, his tone laced with an undeniable edge of bitterness and resentment, a stark reminder of the undeniable history between him and Potter. While it may be true that James Potter had delighted in tormenting me, do not even think that I will take that pain out on his son Harry, for I hold no grudge against the boy. His voice softened slightly, a rare display of vulnerability in the usually stoic professor. And I will also hold no grudges against young Juniper and Lucas, as they are also not responsible for their father's despicable behavior. So you do admit that the students known as Agnes Parker and Patrick Harvey are Juniper and Lucas Potter, Quirrell said to Snape. Do you believe that what you're saying about them is the truth? It is true, Snape confirmed, his voice regaining its usual sternness. That foolish James Potter, and his equally foolish wife Lily had a set of twins named Juniper and Lucas a year after their son Harry was born. However, for their safety, their existence was kept a closely guarded secret. Only Albus Dumbledore and I were privy to this information. Not even the Order of the Phoenix knew of their existence. That was, until you found out the truth and revealed it to the children themselves, did you not? Snape's words hung heavy in the air, creating a weighty atmosphere that seemed to suffocate the room. A stunned silence descended upon the room as everyone tried to comprehend what he had just said. Harry's mind reeled as he tried to process what he had just discovered. Twins. His parents had twins. He had siblings he didn't know existed until recently. As he gazed at Juniper and Lucas, his newfound siblings, their faces mirrored his own shock and the slow realization of a shared, unexpected connection that not even Dumbledore's lies could break. How can that be true? Harry whispered, his voice barely audible. I never knew that your parents had Juniper and Lucas. Snape finished for him. I had warned Lily about the twins before they were born. I had told her that they would throw everything in the wizarding world off balance, and even threaten Lord Voldemort long before you began to grow up. But did she listen to me? Despite my cautionary words about the twins' potentially significant impact on the wizarding community and their capacity to disrupt the order of things, Lily chose to disregard my advice and welcome Juniper and Lucas into the world, unknowingly setting the stage for unforeseen consequences, such as what is happening right now. Agnes then said, Professor, with all due respect, how can we be sure you're not just making this up? Snape's lips twitched into a slight sneer. Perhaps this will convince you. He flicked his wand with a swift motion, and as if by magic, a shimmering memory materialized in the center of the dimly lit room. It was a poignant scene portraying a youthful James and Lily Potter, cradling their two precious newborns, a son with a mop of dark hair reminiscent of Harry's, and a daughter with vibrant red hair akin to Lily's. In the heartwarming memory, little Harry sat cozily nestled between his loving parents, exuding an aura of pure innocence and warmth. A gasp escaped Agnes's lips as she reached out towards the image, her reflection seemingly merging with the baby girl. Patrick stared wide-eyed, his hand unconsciously going to his own dark hair. Harry watched, a whirlwind of emotions swirling within him. He had a brother and a sister. A family that he never knew existed. The memory flickered and faded, leaving an eerie silence in the room. Quirrell, who had been unusually quiet during this revelation, slowly spoke up, breaking the tense atmosphere. So, the prophecy can be rewritten after all, he said with a menacing undertone, his voice a low growl that sent shivers down the spine of those present. 3 Potters. 3 possible heroes. This revelation seems almost too good to be true, doesn't it? There will be no rewriting anything, Quirinus, Snape retorted, his gaze locking with Quirrell's. The prophecy speaks of one who will vanquish the Dark Lord. And whether it be Harry, Longbottom, or perhaps these newly discovered twins, their fate will not be manipulated by the likes of you. Quirrell, regaining his composure, straightened his turban and let out cold, humorless chuckle. So dramatic, Snape. Always the loyal follower, even when you don't understand the game being played. And whom do you pledge your true allegiance to? Not that foolish Dumbledore, I hope, he continued, his disdain evident. He has long ceased to possess the qualities of a true leader, lost in his delusions and fading influence. Enough of this charade, Quirrell, Snape retorted sternly, his black eyes glittering with suspicion as his wand remained pointed threateningly at the trembling figure before him. His voice echoed off the cold stone walls of the dungeon, filling the space with a tense anticipation that crackled in the air. I demand to know who you're working for. Is it the Dark Lord Voldemort himself? Or have you sworn allegiance to someone else's false crusade, another dark force lurking in the shadows, waiting to strike when we least expect it? A tense silence followed. Quirrell's smile, if it could be called that anymore, turned into a chilling grimace. He opened his mouth to speak, but before any words could escape his lips, a disembodied voice filled the room. "Severus, stand down." The voice, deep and powerful, sent shivers down everyone's spine. The source. The burning fireplace, where a wisp of green smoke began to form, slowly taking the shape of a man with cold, reptilian eyes.